Are you looking at adding any new championships at all? Or are you
we're bringing on men's and women's bowling as an official championship here in this coming year. Will be our first championship there. Believe it or not, women's wrestling has been growing and looks like it's going to get there.
A good program there. I know that.
And then who knows? We started a separate association for esports, and that's growing like crazy. So it's separate from the NAIA, but it's got about 150 schools. Yeah, we just started as a separate association.
Really? Yeah. Wow. I got to believe this is kind of a special place, the relationship that Sioux City has with the association.
Yeah, it is. I've been at the NAIA for 21 years, and Sioux City's been with us as a host for longer than that. And so every time I come back, I keep telling Corey and Mike that it just gets better and better. You know, the facility's been the same for the last 20 years or so, but the hospitality, the way the volunteers embrace our student athletes, the way the community in general does, just even when you think it can't get any better, it just does.
How has Sioux City helped elevate the overall championship appeal for NAIA?
Yeah, what Sioux City does for us is it shows other hosts around the country how to do it right. And so it elevates the bar, sets a standard that other people want to be like. I was just talking with a gentleman who's now going to do our bowling championship. He's from a school that's in this competition, but he came out early to see how Sioux City runs the banquet and how you get ready for the event, how you do your work with your volunteers, all those kinds of things that a lot of people don't know going behind the scenes, but Sioux City makes it look easy.
And how important is that to that? I mean, there's something about having that championship experience for the kids.
It is. That's when we're looking at where to take a championship, that's primarily the lens at which we look through. We look to see what kind of experience will be for our student athletes and our coaches. They're here to have a experience of a lifetime, and so we want to make sure that it's first class. We want to have a nice venue, have a good in-venue arena, but when they're not playing, we also want them to have a great experience. We want when they walk out in the community, for people to know that they're here, to greet them in a way that makes them feel special and the event that it should be.
The basketball tournament will be here before we know it, and it's kind of the end of an era with the changes that are coming. Does that add anything to this year for you?
Yeah, it's nostalgic. We've been a basketball tournament since 1937. We've had 32 teams at the final site since 1938, and so after this year, we're going to go to a different format. And so while I respect the people that made that decision and they did it for, I think, the right reasons, it's going to be a little bit sad to see us go away from that 32-team tournament where you have all those teams converging on one spot, playing over 7 days for a championship. It's like no other championship in the world, really.
What was the impetus for that change?
Well, we went from 2 divisions of basketball to 1, and so we needed to expand the field to 64 from 32. And so our administrators who were looking at it felt like it was going to be very difficult to go from 64 to 32. You'd have one-game play-ins around the country, and they weren't sure that was going to be the kind of experience we wanted for our student athletes. So instead, we're going to have 16, 14 pods out there, and that'll feel a little more like a championship experience.
You talk to coaches, and I know change is inevitable. It's always being discussed. Are there possible changes ahead with this tournament as well?
With volleyball, I think so. You know, with colleges and universities in general, but especially smaller colleges and universities, presidents and boards of trustees are always thinking about cost, not only cost, but missed class time as well for student athletes. So trying to just take a look at those 2 main factors and figure out, do we have the right format? Do we have the right, not only at the final site, but ways to qualify teams in to make sure that we're doing it as efficiently and as cost effective as possible.
How much of a focus, we hear about the cost of education across the board. Is that getting any easier for students at the NAIA level, or is that something that you have an eye on?
We definitely have an eye on the cost of education for students, because at our level, most of the student athletes you see here are getting some sort of athletic scholarship, but it's rare to see a full scholarship at the NAIA or NCAA Division II or Division III level. And so we want to put our student athletes in the best position to make it affordable so they don't end up with a lot of student debt. And I think every NAIA school across the country is thinking very actively about that.
How would you characterize the overall health of the NAIA?
Yeah, NAIA is doing great. We're growing. We just passed the 70,000 student athlete mark. We're at about 65,000 student athletes just a couple years ago, so more and more students getting an opportunity to play. Our membership has grown from 246 to 253 in recent years, and so on pretty much every metric we look at, we're growing, and our schools are committed to providing quality athletics. I feel really good about where we are.
Do you have that growth? Is there anybody in our area? I know from time to time Buena Vista's name gets thrown around. They'd be perfect for a GPAC member.
Yeah, you know, with so many small schools in Iowa and Nebraska and surrounding areas, there are lots of opportunities, and we are talking with a few schools that I can't really talk about specifically, but yeah, we're certainly we're trying to partner with the GPAC and with other conferences in this area to attract those schools.
If you go back to when you started, Jim, how much has the overall image of NAIA been elevated? I mean, 25 years ago, it didn't really matter what the story was you told. You were the other association, and that's not the case today, I don't think.
Yeah, I think especially in places like Sioux City who have gotten to know us over the years, they understand that NAIA is different. We're a character-based organization where that's really the main focus for our student athletes. They all are competing really, really hard for a championship, but it's more important what they're learning in this case through volleyball that's going to help them be successful in life. And it's amazing to me that our schools really focus in on that, and the community of Sioux City gets to see that as our student athletes go out into your community and do a lot of community service type stuff in conjunction with this championship, because again, that's equally as important to the competition.